Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan sitting down with John Lennon's son, Julian Lennon. Now, I was a little disappointed that there wasn't more talk about dad, but all good. It was still a very interesting conversation. And they got into a talk about a preemptive pardon for Fauci. And then they were just talking about reminiscing about back in the pandemic days and what that was like and why it was so eerie, and where he was, you couldn't go a mile from your house without written consent from the police. So he tells a little bit of just a small snippet of that story. And then I'm just going to get into the preemptive pardon, what Biden and the White House are saying, what Trump is saying. Then I'm going to get into Fauci himself, of course. And then we're going to go over something that Joe didn't mention, but Peter Hotez said the most unhinged thing. You will not believe what he just said about Trump and when he gets in office and what's in store for Trump. I have no idea why more people aren't talking about this. But let's get into the Rogan clips first, and then we'll talk about all that.
They're just chilling. It's weird. But they're responsible for keeping the mosquito population down.
Is that one of them?
Yeah, they do a great job. Those little suckers.
Fantastic.
They take care of the mosquitoes.
Yeah, mosquitoes, yeah. What purpose do they have, really?
Spreading horrible diseases and sucking your blood.
And aubergines. I don't understand the aubergines either.
Well, they tried to develop a genetically modified mosquito that was going to attack the other mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And, but that's horror movie type shit. Like I hear about that, I'm like, okay, and what happens then? Like whenever you start monkeying around with nature in that regard.
And so nothing came of it then?
I don't know what's been done with that. I don't know. It's like these people are doing these things and it can affect all of us, and you just read about it on the internet, and if it wasn't for the internet you wouldn't even know they were doing it. It's like, are you sure this is going to be okay in the long run? Like, what's the potential chances for mutations? Like, what happens if they carry a very unique disease that it's something
the scary thing is we have no idea what half of these people are up to.
No, we don't.
COVID being an example.
Yeah, perfect example. Did you see what happened in Australia yesterday? There was a laboratory that lost track of. I put it on Twitter. Lost track of like a bunch of different like really serious diseases.
How does that happen?
Someone left the door open?
Yeah.
I went once, me and my friend Duncan, we went once to the lab in Galveston, Texas. They have Center for Disease Control, I believe, is the organization, has this enormous bio lab down in Galveston where they take care of like some of the most dangerous and deadly viruses in the world. So they have like this incredible filtration system, and everybody's wearing space suits, and and we're in there going, what are you guys doing? Hundreds of vials of deadly viruses have gone missing from a laboratory, and scientists warn they could be weaponized. So what are 100 vials of hendavirus, 2 vials of hantavirus, 223 vials of lysovirus, all of which are extremely deadly for humans.
And of course, I love it when the media says, something along the lines of the end of that statement that could be weaponized. So that's great. Now all the freaks are going to go and try and find that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's, we got into this mess in the first place because, and this has now been confirmed, that they were working on these viruses in this laboratory and it got released. And that these viruses had been created through gain-of-function research. So these goofballs are down there working on viruses, making them more infectious to humans. And you would say, well, why are they doing that? Well, surely they're doing that so they can study them and they can cure them. They can make sure that we don't get sick.
Is that the logic?
That's the logic, but they didn't have a cure for it.
List viruses, rabies?
Oh, great. Lists of viruses are responsible for rabies, which is arguably the deadliest encephalitic virus disease known. The prototype rabies lysovirus thought to be able to infect all terrestrial mammals. Yay!
Yay, God.
What a good thing to just have laying around. I mean, that's like the opening of 28 Days Later, right?
Yeah. I woke up relatively calm and peaceful this morning.
A little bit of pre-podcast anxiety, and now you're worried about the end of the world.
Jeez.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I didn't know what to expect, but now
I'm terrified of these eggheads. messing around with all these things. I really am, because it seems like what we know now is that there wasn't a ton of oversight. They sort of went with the NIH funds the Eco Health Alliance, and the Eco Health Alliance funds the Wuhan lab, which has had many safety violations, including I think a year before the leak, and then it gets out, and then they all lie, and then they all trade emails back and forth where they're talking about the lie. And they go in front of Congress and they lie. And now they're talking about giving Fauci a mass pardon, a preemptive pardon, so he doesn't get charged when the Trump
crazy.
It's a whole thing. And then there's another one today where the Biden administration is keeping the emergency classification of COVID to 2029, so that they can avoid being attacked for the Emergency Use Authorization Act. It's so creepy stuff, because there's money. It's all money, right? There's money involved in this. There's these people that are working on viruses. Well, the way to get funding is you have to work on viruses. So whether or not I don't think they're evil people, but I think these people, this is what they studied in college. This is what they went to university for, and now they're studying it. And what's the best way to study it? You actually have to have funding. You have to have a lab, and you start doing it. And so who do you do it for? Well, you do it for the Defense Department, because they want to work on weaponizing viruses. And this is a real thing. And this is
that's one of the scariest things.
Fucking terrifying. I did a television show once where we talked to this guy from Russia and from former Soviet Union, where he was talking about how they had literally giant vats of anthrax. They had enough anthrax to literally kill every fucking human being in America, and that they were working on viruses and all these deadly diseases.
To be honest with you, I'm quite surprised we're still here.
It's pretty shocking.
With what's already happened and what the potentials are,
All right, and now the next clip, what you're seeing is Julian talking about his experience during the pandemic and his run-in with the police, if you believe that. Let's get into it.
The COVID experience was very, very different for very many people. And where I was in Monaco in France, you weren't allowed to leave your house without written paperwork to the police that you were going out for 1 hour, and you could only go within 1 kilometer unless you were going to get groceries, where you could only go out for, I don't know, a limited amount of time. If you didn't have the paperwork with you, you'd be fined. And so I started using quite a few apps to calm myself and take on a deep breath and a deep focus, because I felt trapped, especially as someone who loved walking, who loved biking, who loved exploring, all of that stuff, and I couldn't move. And here's the really annoying thing was that where I was quite close to the sea, a couple of 100 yards away. But as I said, I could only be in a 1 kilometer circle from where I was. But that half of that was in the sea. And so I could walk left and right to try and get 5K in back and forth, at least 5K to try and get a good walk in. But you weren't allowed on the beach, which was the most, to sit there and contemplate and breathe and just, try and relax.
One of the healthiest things you can do.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to do that.
Everyone lost their fucking mind. And it was really strange. In California, they were arresting people. The Coast Guard was arresting people for surfing.
I know. It's the most insane. I remember going on my first power walk along a peninsula that's about 15 minutes out of Monaco. And it's somewhere I go every once in a while. And it was a really quite blustery day, and it's right along the coastline, rocks, high winds, the whole thing. And I'm power walking along, thinking, I'm finally free. I'm finally free. Good. Anyway, so along the path ahead of me, about a quarter of a mile, I see a number of bobbing heads. So, okay. And I wasn't wearing a mask. You had to wear a mask, even when you're out power walking on your own.
Because of science.
Of course. Genius. Well, let's not get into that. But, so over the ridge they come, and I noticed that one of the person at the front is wearing a a police hat.
Oh, great.
And so I'm going, oh, shit. So I'm trying to scramble putting my mask on, and he's going for a run with a bunch of trainees, about eight other people from the police force. And they're all gunned up and truncheoned and everything else. And the guy's going off on me in French saying, wear your fucking mask, you should. And I'm going, and he says to me, I understand a little bit, a good amount of French, and I can speak a little bit, but he said, who are you with? And I'm looking around. There's nobody for half a mile anywhere near me. And he's asking me, who am I with? And I'm thinking, what's that about? This is the weirdest scenario. I'm in the middle of nowhere on a rocky peninsula, and he's asking me who I'm with, and there's nobody. And, to put my mask back on, otherwise I'd be in trouble. And it was just the most surreal, peculiar circumstance to be,
Well, you could have never imagined it before the pandemic. You could have never imagined a scenario where people would be that illogical. Wearing a mask outside, illogical.
Yeah.
Not being able to go to the beach, illogical.
I still love the fact that you see people sitting on their own in cars today wearing a mask.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you go to Los Angeles, my friend just went to a party, and he sent me a photograph. He's like, I'm at a Hollywood party. Everyone's wearing a fucking mask. These people are in a cult. Like, first of all, if you haven't read the 500-page.
Man, very, very interesting stuff. There's a guy, I'm out in Austin here, and there's a guy who comes into the gym, no mask on, and then gets on the equipment, mask on. I said, well, I can work out and look at someone at the same time, so I have to watch this person. I have to. And then he finishes on the machine. Mask off. And then he goes to another one. Mask on. I just had to keep watching. I was like, what's going on here? Also, hairiest guy you could think of. Shoulders out, tank top, so hairy. Should have a hairnet, just a hairnet t-shirt, but he doesn't. But mask on, of course. It's wild. True story. I love Texas, but Austin has these little patches of Los Angeles. That's what it has. Little patches you walk through Austin, it turns into Los Angeles. And you're like, what's going on here? And then you take a few more steps, and somebody's like, Trump 2024. I'm like, oh, thank you, brother. What's going on? And then you take a few more steps, and someone's like, did you assume that person's gender? And you're like, whoa. And then you got to take some steps back. It's wild out there. Anyways, guys, let's get into some other stuff. I guess I can just, well, you know what? I'll play the other Joe Rogan clip after. It's like a very short one. But this is Peter Hotez, just in the spirit of everything they're talking about. First off, let me just touch on something real quick. Julian Lennon talking about not being able to go more than a mile away from his place without written consent from the police is so crazy. So crazy. Man, anytime I think of that time, because I lost my job. I couldn't work. I had to do Uber Eats, which made me essential for some reason. So myself, I was allowed to touch every doorknob and piece of elevator in the city, but yeah, it was so silly. The whole thing was just so silly. Man, anyway, this is Peter Hotez, and what he has to say is not being brought up enough. Okay? So guess when this is what he says in store for Trump and for all of us. And he's just allowed to say this, and it's fine. Listen to this.
Here's the reason why we need to care about this stuff, Nicole, is that we have some big picture stuff coming down the pike starting on January 21st. Mr. Bloomberg mentioned H5N1. That I'm really worried about. It's all over wild birds on the western part of the United States and going up in the north. It's getting into the poultry. We're seeing sporadic human cases, no human-to-human transmission yet, but that could happen. It's in the cattle. It's in the milk. And that's just the beginning. We have another major coronavirus likely brewing in Asia. We've had SARS in 2002, SARS-2, COVID-19 in 2019. And we know these viruses are jumping from bats to people thousands of times a year. But there's still more. We know that we have a big problem with mosquito-transmitted viruses all along the Gulf Coast, where I am here in Texas. So we're expecting dengue and possibly Zika virus coming back, or a Puche virus, maybe even yellow fever. And there's more. Then we have all this sharp rise in vaccine preventable diseases going up because of, in part, the anti-vaccine activism that's so prominent right now. We have a 5-fold rise in pertussis cases, whooping cough over the last year, 15 measles outbreaks this year. We've got polio that's been in the wastewater in New York State. All that's going to come crashing down on January 21st on the Trump administration. We need a really, really good team to be able to handle this.
Conveniently, all on January 21st. Very interesting the way this science works. Very odd. Very, very odd. Just right in time for Trump. Let's not do anything to Biden. That's how it works. They sit in there and, and they're in bats and in cattle and milk and everything like he just said. And they're like, let's not do anything more to Biden. Let's lay off Biden a little bit, guys. Let's wait for Trump. What? Is that how it works? And let me guess how this works. If we just don't have Trump in office at all, then we're saved. Is that it? Oh, I understand. How on earth does someone get to go on the air and say this? Like a mad scientist. Look at him. Like a mad scientist. He just gets to say this with his bow tie on. He looks like an evil character in Sonic the Hedgehog or, Super Mario. And he just gets to say this and just no one blinks. Everyone's like, yeah, January 21st. All right, I'll look out for that. All right, I was going to watch a movie that night, but I'll look out for this instead. What? This is crazy. He even said this, maybe even yellow fever. Hey, buddy. What do you mean, maybe? What? Like he's talking about like what we're going to eat on Sunday. The game will be on and we'll get some wings. Yeah, we'll get garlic bread, maybe even some pizza. What? What do you... Maybe, I don't know. We'll see what everyone feels like. You voted Trump in, it's kind of your fault. What? And nobody thinks to say, hey, you got to come with us. You just said something's going to happen on January 21st. Come on in this room, buddy. Sit on down. Next to this guy. He's Syrian. We don't know who he is either. We're trying to figure it out. You guys stay put in this room. We're going to come back. Okay? We're just going to figure this out for a second. There's no bail. We're not the police. We're the FBI. We have to figure out what you're saying right now. No one's doing that? I guess not. FBI's all in a disarray. Christopher Wade just resigned. He's like, I'm getting fired. I'm resigning. Who's running it? I don't know. Ask Kash Patel. I don't know. I'm tired of this. So checked out of his job for sure. Just so checked out. Sir, what should we be doing? I don't know, man. I resigned like 4 days ago, man. You guys are smart. You guys will figure it out. Mad scientist dude just comes on the air on MSNBC like Dr. Evil. You can expect maybe yellow fever. What? Hey, what do you mean, man? All right, let's move on to Fauci. I'm just saying, this is ludicrous to me. I'm sorry I had to go back for a second. It's ludicrous that he could say all this and no one goes, why January 21st? MSNBC, they know it's because Trump's going to be in office. But for the rest of us, please tell the rest of us why January 21st. It's so ridiculous. I can't believe Joe Rogan had this guy on. People complain about Joe having like Eddie Bravo on, or they complain about, a bunch of people that he has on. No one complains about this guy being on? Ridiculous. Might as well have Billy Carson come back on so you can talk about emerald tablets. Get out of here, man. Anyway, sorry, this little went into TED Talk mode. Sorry, guys. Let's just play this clip and get into the whole Fauci thing.
I wonder what impact RFK Jr. is going to have on the delivery of healthcare now.
Well, he's going to have so much of an impact that they're talking about preemptively pardoning Fauci. Like, well, how do you pardon someone that didn't do a crime?
Preemptively. That's funny.
How are you pardoning someone where he's not only is he not convicted of a crime, he's not even tried, he's not accused, he's not indicted? Like, what do you...
I guess that's called blanket immunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's never been done before. There's never been preemptive pardons for people.
Yeah, that's an interesting
that
idea.
may have been committing crimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy that this is what's happening with Fauci. More than likely, also. That's the thing. Of course they're going to say no, but that's what they said about Hunter Biden as well. They said no one's above the law, and I wouldn't do that. Obviously Fauci's not like Biden's son, okay? Although, sadly, if he was, it'd be a massive improvement from Hunter. But still, actually, I don't even know. Because Hunter seems like a good time. You keep him contained, As soon as Hunter says, hey, we're going to Ukraine. No, Hunter. We're staying right here in Vegas. There's enough here in Vegas. Let's go to China. Hunter? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You want to play blackjack? Okay. Or do you want to go on the strip and see who we can pick up? The strip it is. Okay, let's go. Seems like a good time. Let me play this clip for you guys.
Mask mandates are coming back to several Bay Area counties. Health officials have issued orders requiring face masks to be worn in hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, and other healthcare facilities. This order goes into effect starting November 1 until either the end of March or April 2025. Now, the counties requiring masks right now are Alameda, Contra Costa, Santa Clara, San Mateo, and Napa County.
Guys, calm down. Just playing a little joke on you guys. That's in California. California is not a real place, guys. California is the human version of Twitter. Don't worry, guys. Forget it. Shouldn't even say that. It's the human version of Blue Sky. It is the live action version of Blue Sky. That's what California is. So don't worry. Unless you live in California, then move. But other than that, don't worry about that. Let's just play what's going on with Fauci here. Some of the reasons why people feel like he is going to get this pardon. I know I certainly do. Based off this one clip alone, it shows, did he do anything wrong? I guess not. But also, we all know it's Fauci, right? So listen to this.
Once people feel empowered and protected legally, you are going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated. Yeah. Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
That's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live without getting a vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given God-given rights. Shame on you. You inspired and created fear through mask mandates, school closures, vaccine mandates that have destroyed the American people's trust in our public health institution.
Yep. See, things like that make you think, oh, this guy probably does need that pardon, right? But again, we have to say, we have to go with the whole narrative that they've portrayed, that he's a hero. He's a hero. Who said that? This guy right here said that. Listen to this.
A special thanks to one of the great public health officials, a true hero, who we've led this fight against HIV/AIDS, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Where is Anthony? and you're a good man. God love you.
Look at that. Look at that. Biden said he's a great public servant, a hero, saluted him. Well, a guy like that, I guess, doesn't need a pardon. A hero doesn't need a pardon because they haven't done anything wrong. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. Obviously, this is what the White House has to say about all that. And this lady's amazing because she must know that Biden did this and said this. You know? Look at him, saluting, right? She knows that, but still has the nerve to answer like this.
Some of the names that have been floated around preemptive pardon solutions, it would just be such an unusual, extraordinary step. We talked about in the news, we've seen Liz Cheney, Dr. Fauci.
You're talking about the preemptive pardoning.
Right. I understand you don't want to get ahead of the president's thinking, but are any of those names wrong or still? Can you tell? I mean, do you want to tell us anything about?
It would be a bad move on my behalf if I preempted the president or previewed anything that the president was thinking about, considering, and so this is something that he's going to talk with his team about, and I just don't have anything beyond that for you.
There she goes again. I don't think she's ever, it's a record. It's 4 solid years. She's never answered one question. It's solid. It's solid. To lie every single time and to not answer questions. To lie and not answer a question at the same time. Very talented lady. And also, I have to say,
Some of the names that have been floated.
I'm not saying anything. Look at her. That lady's 50. I'm just saying. Maybe we should all be lying and not answering questions a lot more because she's aging okay. I'm just saying, 50? I don't know. Maybe we should all just refrain from answering questions anymore. It'll do our skin a world of good. Come on, man. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, while she is making things up and Biden is absolutely delusional about Fauci, here's what Donald Trump is trying to do in regards to pardons.
I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual cases, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Issue these pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
By the way, they've been in there for years, and they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open. I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual.
That's Donald Trump talking about the J6 protesters. That's where his focus is. So Trump is trying to release people who are patriots. And even if you're someone who doesn't want to recognize them as patriots, they're innocent people. And they've been inside this place. One Joe Rogan guest, Roger, he said that he was alongside a guy that had been in jail for 1,000 days. And that's not just a one-off case. That's many people. I think about 1,000 people went to jail and got prosecuted in some way, shape, or form. Some of them have dramatic life-ending sentences. Some of them are just in jail and have no idea what's going on. And Trump wants to get those people out. So Trump's focused on Americans while Biden is focused on pardoning actual criminals. But they're not criminals because they didn't do anything wrong. But they need the pardon because, Trump might find something that they did wrong. And we all know, Trump. It's like, even if the mentality's gotten to that point, we're going to bring on Rad Paul right now, but the mentality's gotten to that point where it's like, well, I mean, Trump might find something that they actually did wrong, and that's just wrong of us to allow to happen because it's Trump. And everybody's just like, yeah. They're just clapping like me at the beginning of an episode. They're just like, Anyway, let's get into this clip.
This came out yesterday, I believe. Biden White House discussing preemptive pardons for those in Trump's crosshairs. And it says those who could face exposure include such members of Congress as Jan 6 Committee Senator-elect Adam Schiff, GOP Rep Liz Cheney. Also mentioned by Biden aides is a pardon for Anthony Fauci, the former head of the NIAID, who became a lightning rod for criticism during COVID. Now, we're told that the president isn't part of this formulation, that it's coming from staffers, and that these individuals, as far as we know, have not asked for a pardon. But what's your take on the fact that this is under discussion?
I think it's a real possibility that Anthony Fauci could get a pardon. He is at risk. I've referred him twice to the Department of Justice. The Biden administration has ignored it, but we have a great deal of evidence that he lied to Congress, which is a felony punishable by 5 years. The proof that we have that he's lying is from his own emails. So we have his private emails gotten by court order, and they contradict what he was saying publicly in a way such that I think we could prove that he has lied to Congress, which is a felony. As far as other pardons, I fully suspect the president will pardon his brother coming up, too. He's protecting Hunter, who has a criminal record, a long and storied criminal record, taking $80,000 a year from a large business in Ukraine. I think also there will be a consideration of whether or not President Biden may want to pardon himself as well. So I think the Biden syndicate of making money did act illegally, and who knows, maybe the president will even pardon himself.
All right. So just real quick, a preemptive pardon before any charges have been brought. You expect that to happen for Anthony Fauci?
After seeing what they did with Hunter Biden, who has a host of convictions, a host of wrongdoing, and they gave him a pardon, not just on what he's been accused of anything he may be accused of over a 10-year period.
It's just like the plea deal that the judge laughed at. It's essentially the same time period.
That's wild. That's absolutely wild. What they're about to do is just so preemptive pardons. I believe it has been done before, but I don't want to say the names of who did it because I'm kind of unsure. But it was I believe it was one president to another. I'm almost positive. Yeah, I know it has happened before in history, but not to people like this, who have lied to Congress, who have these long rap sheets of convictions and criminal past. It has not been done like this. This is so ridiculous. And not Liz Cheney, obviously. It's Hunter and Fauci. I mean, watch what he said to Congress. This is so funny. You don't have to be, there's some things where you don't have to be an economist to understand that the economy hurts. You're just a person living in it. You could just be like, oh, well, this thing costs more and I have less money here and I'm making more, but for some reason it's not going anywhere. I don't know what's happening, but I had to not get eggs and we got to buy this bacon instead of that bacon. This one's cheaper. You know what's going on with the economy. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand what Fauci may or may not have lied about in Congress. Go watch it. You were living during that time. You'll be like, oh, that's not true. Oh, that's not true. Oh, no, I remember him saying this on the TV, and now he's saying this in front of Congress. You'll see. Go check it out. It's ridiculous. Even in that clip I played where he said the ideological BS, it's clear what he was talking about. He made it so clear in that 1 minute clip. But then when he's in front of Congress, he's like, no, that's not. I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about something else. It's like, what? If you were a kid, you'd be grounded and your parents would be like, how dare you lie to me? How dare you bull-faced lie to me just like that so easily? How could you do that? But when it's a guy in front of Congress that impacted the entire country, we're like, I'm not sure. Oh, is there going to be a preemptive pardon? What's going on? January 20th. Let's see what CNN has to say about this whole thing. You think it's positive or no? Guess. You're right.
Actually, on the opposite of that, I think that it is actually smart when you have somebody not only in Trump, but in a lot of his acolytes who also hold elected office, who are dead set on carrying out his retribution tour, be it whether it's with Liz Cheney, Dr. Fauci, any and everybody. I think that it's smart. It offers a certain level of protection, but it also helps as a stalwart, because I hear what you're saying about, what the founders intended. The founders also didn't intend a twice impeached, 34 felony convicted guy to pop up and run for president and win multiple times. I think that at this point, when you have someone who is operating with immunity, because quite frankly, the Supreme Court gave him that in all aspects, and does not match up to any of the presidents that we formerly had, or any, I think, of the principles of American democracy, you have to have safeguards. And one of the safeguards against a lot of the attacks that the incoming administration and a lot of those who align with it against those that they see as enemies is actually issuing those preemptive pardons.
Do you think it's a smart thing? It's a smart thing to do. She's one of the people who was also saying Joe Biden's not going to do that with his son. That's what he said. Also, just have to say real quick, she has no idea about the founding fathers. She's one of those ladies that's like, George Washington was racist. He had slaves. He was racist. We shouldn't even listen to what they had to say. She's for sure one of those people. Can't even believe the American flag's behind her. The gall of CNN to not have the communist flag behind these people. I'm kidding. I'm sure she loves the country. You know, she just wants it severely divided because she's getting paid. That's fine, I guess. Capitalism, I guess. I don't know. But no, it's not a smart thing. But that's going to be the narrative going forward. It's a smart thing because of Trump. That's why in the other clip that I played, it was like they're in the crosshairs of Trump. In reality, they're just in the crosshairs of justice. You can't be like, well, I mean, this guy may have lied to Congress, and if they can prove that, I mean, he's in the crosshairs of Trump. This is not right. We got to save him. What? So crazy. So crazy. You know, I thought there was a chance that Biden might actually pardon Trump, but with what I'm seeing right now, I don't think that's going to happen. You know, it would be smart of him. It would be something that we could all look at and say, okay, he did something very, very good, but I don't think it's going to happen. I want you to hear the fumble in this guy's voice. You tell me if I'm wrong. Was he about to say Chinese communist? Listen to this.
Minor collaboration as part of a subcontract of a grant. We had a collaboration with some Chinese scientists and
What do you guys think? Do you think he was going to say Chinese scientists, or was he going to say Chinese communists?
As part of a subcontract of a grant, we had a collaboration with some Chinese.
This looks bad all over. This administration, man, I wonder, you know, because, you know, you only know about so much in your lifetime unless you're really going into history. Was there ever an administration this bad? This seemingly, allegedly corrupt? Allegedly? Was there ever? I don't know. I don't think so. This is like a whole new level. Listen to this.
And I'm just sick of seeing him. I know he says he's going to retire. Someone needs to grab that little elf and chuck him across the Potomac.
You know how much you done messed up when Ron DeSantis gets riled up? He's talking about Fauci there. You know, listen, Ron DeSantis calling someone an elf is the equivalent of someone else calling someone an MFer. An MFer, you know? Like Ron DeSantis, he's riled up. Look at him. His papers are all mixed up now. He's like, I just got so mad. You know you really messed up. Let's end it off with, let me close that right there. Let's end it off with Jimmy Dore echoing a lot of what we're all thinking. Just 1 minute, quick clip.
So guess what? Everybody told me that Fauci's not a criminal, but all of a sudden, Joe Biden's going to give Fauci a pardon.
Why is that?
But Trump, a
preemptive pardon. First, they told me that Joe Biden was going to accept the jury decision out for Hunter, and that he's not. And Trump was bad because he said the Justice Department, their prosecutions were political, and then Joe Biden said the same thing about Hunter Biden, that his prosecution was political. Isn't that weird? That was the difference. That was the stark difference. That was supposed to be the stark difference between those two, between Trump and Biden. So that's all gone. Yeah. And now and now I was told that Dr. Fauci, that I'm some kind of conspiracy theorist that's saying Dr. Fauci's a criminal, but now he's going to give Dr. Fauci a pardon.
For what?
For what if he didn't do anything?
Lives?
Biden's White House is discussing preemptive pardons for those in Trump's crosshair. Do you see how Political reports this? Those in Trump. Oh, Trump.
Oh, those are my crosshairs as well. And I
Jimmy needs a new co-host. I would be Jimmy's co-host. He needs to do it. He needs someone that's not stepping on his toes so much. I'm just saying, he was going in a solid rant right there. That was a solid rant. No one needed to interject. Jimmy Dore, he was being the master of his show right then and there. He didn't need anybody to chime in right at that point. He was making a solid George Carlinian point right there. And he's so right. If you didn't do anything wrong, what do you need a pardon for? Trump has discussed he was able to pardon himself before he left office the first time. He's like, I didn't do anything. Why would I do that? They're asking him now, if when he gets in office, is he going to pardon himself? He's like, why? I didn't do anything. That's what you do when you're innocent. You're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I don't understand. Why do I need to pardon myself? And you know what? Honestly, he's right to not want to pardon himself, but I hope he does. I really do, because it's getting out of control, and it's like, get these things out of the way, because probably, depending on who wins 2028, and there's talk about it, potentially Trump being able to run in 2028. I don't know if you guys heard this. I'm going to talk about it on the weekend show a little bit. I'm going to get Hank to look into that a little bit, but he might be able to run. That aside, depending on who wins, they're going to come up with more to go after Trump. I don't think it's going to stop. I don't think he's just going to walk away from politics after he wins and they're just going to be like, oh, just let him go. I don't think it's going to go like that. I think they're going to come after him more. So I hope he does pardon himself, honestly. But that's what's going on. Let me know. What do you guys think is going to happen? Are they going to pardon Fauci? I think, just based on what happened with Hunter Biden, that it's 100% yes. No, I shouldn't even say that. Based on what happened with Hunter Biden, and based on the fact that Fauci needs it. I don't care if they call him a hero. I don't care what medals they give him. I don't care how many people say he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It doesn't matter. He needs it, because there's too many people who are in high positions, like Elon Musk saying to prosecute Fauci, which he's a part of Trump's administration now, and right down to regular people. Nobody thinks what he was doing was all on the up and up. Everybody wants to see some kind of justice come to him. And since he's a part of that big gang that's running around right now, I think they're going to do it. And also, the same thing with Hunter. I think that if they don't pardon Fauci and he does go down, I think there's some people he can throw under the bus or drag under the bus along with him. I think there's a bunch of people, and it probably goes pretty high up. There's a bunch of people who he can say, well, this person collaborated with me, and I know that person took money, and he might know a whole bunch of stuff. And I think that's what happened with Hunter as well. It's like, hey, Dad. I think Hunter had the attitude of, Dad, you were never around. My brother's passed away. My mother's passed away. You brought cameras into the hospital when they were sick so you could be sworn into the Senate instead of just going. You made a spectacle of it. You've always been more about your career. I'll tell them everything. I'll tell them from when I was a kid all the way up until 10% for the big guy. I'll tell them everything. You better make sure I never touch a jail cell. That's what I think. I don't think they have the father and son relationship that everybody thinks. That like just regular, like, hey, how you doing? I think they have I think it's like House of Cards in that family. It's like Suits in that family. That's what I think. That's just me though. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.